Hello. In my last video I talked about the spectrum of one note of a piano, and this time I will be talking about the spectrum of all 88 notes of a piano. Here we have a spectrogram showing all 88 notes. I'll just play a little bit of the recording. Starts at the lowest note and goes all the way up to the highest notes of the piano. And just a couple of things about the graph. This is frequency on the y-axis, goes up to about 4 kilohertz in the highest note, and on the x-axis is time. So it took me about 48 seconds to go through all the notes of the piano. Let's zoom in on the lower notes here a little bit. Also, I forgot to mention that the colors represent the volume or the level of each frequency. So the orange is the loudest, or almost white is the loudest, yellow, orange, and then goes through down to blue and almost purple, which is the quietest. So you can see that the fundamental frequency down here is the loudest, and then generally the overtones get quieter as they get higher. But looking at the lower frequencies here, we can see the fundamental frequency pretty clearly up here. What note is this? It's one of the middle notes. And as we go down, we can see that the fundamental kind of dies out. Down here, we're not hearing much fundamental compared to the harmonics. And as we go even farther down, the first harmonic is dying out, so that by the time you get to the lowest note here, supposedly the lowest note on the piano is 27.5 hertz. I pulled this chart up from the internet, but we're not really hearing anything 27.5 hertz in that lowest note, or the first harmonic either. But somehow our ears can hear it as 27.5 hertz. I won't try to explain that. There are other YouTube videos and websites that do a better job. But yeah, the fundamental and at least the first harmonic, maybe the second one, are missing from these lowest notes. But I wonder if a bigger piano, mine is a Steinway S 5' 1" grand. It's the smallest grand that Steinway makes. I wonder if a bigger one like the Steinway D 8' something might have more of these fundamental frequencies in the lower notes, because the strings are a lot longer. Next, let's go up here to the middle notes. You can see the fundamental and each harmonic pretty clearly here. And this software I'm using, RX4, has a nice feature where it can, I highlighted just the fundamental frequency, so I'll play the note, and I highlight just the fundamental frequency, and it can tell me where each overtone should be. I guess all strings that vibrate have a known overtone series. There's an interesting Wikipedia page on harmonic series if you want to read about that. But the software can tell where each harmonic should be, and it's pretty accurate. I highlighted just the harmonic, and I selected all for it to highlight all harmonics, and they're just exactly where they should be. So, but if you go down to the lower notes, it won't be true at all. But we can play just the part that's highlighted, and you can hear that it sounds pretty much like the note. And here's the part, here's everything, and just the highlighted part. Now that brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about. We can zoom out. Here's the fundamental frequency, and there should not be any sound lower in frequency than that, but you can see below here there's a lot of sound. And if we highlight that and listen to just that, it's the sound of the key hitting the key bed, and maybe the hammer hitting the string also. I had the microphone under the piano lid very close to the strings, so that could be part of why it's emphasized so much here. But here's everything. So you can hear the hammer, the extra noise there. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is up here in these highest notes, if I look at the harmonics for these, it's RX4 is telling me that the first harmonic should be here, and the second and third, and these higher ones are not there at all in these very high notes. But maybe I should zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, so here's, whoops. Okay, so here's the fundamental, and the software is telling me the first harmonic should be up here, but below that you can see these extra harmonics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then they stop. And then if I adjust this a little bit to make the colors show up more, we can see we've got these 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then up here we have another batch of extra harmonics, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I was trying to understand where those are coming from. I can't explain it, but one thing that I noticed is that in the piano, these are the highest strings, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this batch that go across this metal bar here. And then in the next batch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that does correspond to these 7 and 6 notes that I'm seeing here. It doesn't explain why the extra harmonics are there, but I think there's a relation. If anybody watching can explain it, feel free to leave a comment. So that's all for now. In the words of David Duvall, thank you for listening.